welcome to our Know Your Alumni series. As Andre Malraux rightly said, often the difference between a successful person and a failure is not one has better abilities or ideas, but the courage that one has to bet on one's ideas, to take a calculated risk, and to act. Today, we have amongst us Ms. Puja Bedi, an esteemed alumnus from the class of 2016 at the Xavier Institute of Management, Bhubaneswar. Ms. Bedi majored in marketing during her time at XIMB and has a rich industry experience of more than 4 years. In the past, Ms. Bedi has worked as an assistant brand manager with Emami and is currently working as a brand manager with the Himalaya drug company. It is our honor to have you among us, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Akansha. Thank you for the introduction. Thank you.
My first question will be, when we talk about branding, the relationship between the product and the consumer is important. So how do you see that evolving, especially after this ongoing pandemic?
So very good question. So I'm sure like whenever you guys read about marketing, one of the first few things you hear is, how consumer is king. And whatever they are always right. Basically we have to, like, as marketers, we have to completely follow that concept, like whatever our consumers are thinking, we have to do it. So initially before the pandemic, there was a difference in thought process. Like people would there would be certain products which would be more need specific. There would be a lot of products which would be specifically for focusing on a person's desires. So there was a fine balance between needs and desires. So during this pandemic, what we have seen is a lot of products which were essentials and not even spoken about have come into focus when people did not have access to the luxury items, to the items that they did not need in their everyday life, and all their focus was going into how to get essentials into our homes. Initially people would just go to a store, buy whatever they were initially buying, and they would just come back home. But now the consumer has become a lot more cautious. They're thinking more before purchasing whatever is going into their products. So the current consumer, you can say, is a more evolved one than they were before the pandemic. So what I feel, as a brand, with this evolving scenario worldwide, brands also need to be more socially responsible, because the brands which are not speaking to the consumers in a larger scope of things will slowly and steadily go out of the minds of the people. If you see the Gen Z consumers or the Gen Alpha consumers, the young age consumers, they want products, they want brands which speak more than what they are actually doing, which are doing something for the society, which are more responsible and caring about the environment. So I feel brands need to be more socially responsible. They need to speak to their audience. It should not be a one-way communication. They should not just, say, okay, I do this, I do that, and that's it. They should understand what their consumer desires. Should be a two-way thing. They should be more communicative, be it social media, be it any other platform, how they want their consumers to be interacting with them. So that's something. And also I think the brands need to build more trust in the minds of the consumers, because nowadays, as you see, everything that you look at, you are skeptical about trying something new, whether or not that thing is going to be good, or what goes into that product, whether it's completely natural, whether it's herbal. So what the new laws are also saying, when a brand is communicating something, they need to be very clear in their advertising. It does not need to be very deceptive to the consumer. For example, when you have a hand wash or a sanitizer and they say kills germs, and they put a disclaimer below, right? So that disclaimer needs to completely call out what sort of germs are you talking about. Is it the coronavirus or it's not? So basically, the time for deception kind of things are not something that you should be looking at nowadays. So you should be more open, more vocal about what your brand stands for, whatever it is, and it needs to be more out in the open, basically. And basically, I think consumers are becoming more, as I initially said, since the consumers are becoming more and more aware, uh, people and brands need to go out of more enhancement zone, and they need to, solve. If you are in a personal care category and you're solving a certain problem, especially in the next coming months or years when the world is still struggling with the coronavirus, with the pandemic, people are looking for specific brands and products which are solving specific problems. So if you are doing that, I think you will be more relevant to the consumers, you will speak more to the consumers than if you are just doing something to enhance the image of a person or something like that. Basically, if a problem solving kind of it, let's say even if a hand wash is there and they are going to say that it makes your hands soft or something, but if it's not adding any additional value to the consumer by, let's say, killing germs or something like that, a consumer might not be interested in that particular category in the current times, is what the point was. So I think these 3 points would be something that I would look forward to.
Thank you so much for sharing that with us, ma'am. So,
Sure.
moving on to the next question.
Yeah.
So, when a new product is launched in the market, what key aspects one should keep in mind in terms of brand management?
So launching a new product, honestly, from a marketing point of view, is one of the best things a marketer can do. Personally speaking, that would be my opinion. So I have been lucky enough to do so in my 4.5 years of marketing journey. So it's always special for a marketer to launch that product into the market. And if it's a success, that person is always going to be remembered as the one who launched that product. So uh, talking about what things you have to keep in mind. Firstly, it's either a new to the world concept completely, like nobody has ever come up with. And you don't see a lot of these nowadays, right? Yeah, something or the other is there in the market. So you will possibly be a new entrant in an already existing category. That's how I have been launching the products till now. And so if you're already, the category already exists, the first thing you would have to do is basically, if you want to come up with a product, you need to understand what need is that particular product going to satisfy. And once you've done with everything and you've decided, okay, this is the product that you're going to launch. So firstly, you need to know who your consumer is, who are you going to market this product to. Let's say you're doing facial wipes, so you need to know who the consumer for that facial wipes market is. Once you've identified your consumer, you also need to define the proposition that your particular product is going to give. Like, let's say it's either going to be a anti-pollution wipe, or it's going to be an oil removal wipe. So whatever the need that you've identified, you need to develop a proposition based on that. And then you need to alternatively, not alternatively, along with that, you also need to understand what the competition is speaking about, whether that particular segment that you're targeting, how many players are there in that, how big the competition segment is, and how are they communicating about their particular brand. Once you've done the competition benchmarking and you've also selected your proposition, then you go on to, decide how your communication is going to be different than what the competition is going to do. Because as you know, the current market is flooded with a lot of advertisements, a lot of communication, and there is just a lot of clutter. And if you want to make your space as a new entrant, you need to do something clutter breaking. It does not need to be it should not be a me too. So what you need to do is then develop that communication accordingly. And once you've developed that communication, uh, whatever you decide, ideally you should do a test launch in a there should be a pressure test for a particular market and see whether what you're trying to do, if that's working in that particular market, as per your sample size, as per your consumers. If it's working for that market, then you replicate it to other regions or pan India. Or if you're very confident about the product and the offering, you can also go for an all India launch with the communication that you're deciding to. However, when you're planning that communication, you have to decide whether it's going to be an ATL launch or a BTL launch. Not all brands go on TV or on media the first time they're launched. Some products just need to be placed in the market, and the shops need to be made aware that, okay, this is existing. You can just put up posters, billboards outside the shops, and it can just be a BTL launch also. So there are not a lot of categories which advertise, like let's say an OTC category. When you're launching a new OTC drug in the market, you might not necessarily go and advertise about it. It might just be a BTL launch, and it needs to be a proper BTL-led campaign. Like the entire sales team needs to be more interactive and accordingly. So once you've decided whether it needs to be an ATL launch or a BTL launch, and you've done the competition analysis, you need to have a set goal in mind that okay, this is the market share that I'm targeting. Then you know the entire category, you know that okay, I can target, this is my brand, this is my standing in the market. You can take a, like another category which is similar to the one that you're launching, and you can benchmark that, and you can, let's say, oh, you target 5% market share in the first year. And based on that number that you have in mind, you decide an A to S ratio, which we call in marketing terms, which is a advertising to sales ratio. So whatever that ratio is, it's 10%, it's 20%. You put that budget for your communication and branding, and then that is, it's a very simple knockdown of how a product should be branded. But okay, then that, after deciding that, you communicate into the market. It's not the entire process, but I've tried to break it into, simpler steps. So that's what we generally do. You just like up and down, you can just do it with the kind of product you're launching. But these are the broad steps how we follow for the branding of a new product. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much, ma'am, for sharing the details with us.
Sure.
So, ma'am, could you recollect some fun memories that you might have made during your XIMB days and share some of those with us?
Definitely. Oh, it was just filled with fun memories only, I think. And we were actually the first batch, if you know, to actually stay in both the campuses. So at that time, Xavier University was formed. So I was in that batch, which was staying in the new campus at that time. And everything in that campus was new, from the rooms to the academic blocks. Every something was still constructing, so there was a lot of uncertainty in our minds, and we would just randomly do things. But there were a lot of memories because everybody was doing those things for the first time, and nobody had ever done them. So we're kind of creating everything that was happening in that place. And I even, yeah, obviously, when you get your internship done, that's a memorable thing to do. So that was also something that was interesting, although my process was done via Skype because those guys were not able to travel. So while everybody was, dressing up and going, I had just dressed up, like I had put on my blazer, and then bottom I had lowers on. So that was all online. So it was also fun, different kind of experience that you do in new campus. So after we came to the main campus, life was actually much simpler and easier, and we interacted with a lot of more people. Going to the night mess, having anda Maggie, having cheese Maggie, those were like some amazing times that we had. And especially when we participated in case studies, we would just stay up all night and go to the canteen and eat random things all night. Like today, when I recall, I used to eat parathas at 2 a.m. I just can't fathom, okay, you did that at that time. Those were good times. And of course, the legacy trip, as we call it, I don't know if it's still called that. So, 10, 12 days vacation now, it's just become a dream to do something like that. But it was just amazing to actually go out and just travel the Northeast with all your friends, 12 friends. Amazing. And I think the last great memory I have is after we left college, and then the entire group of our friends had returned for expressions the next year after we had passed out. So that was also great. Like we still knew the juniors, and most of the people from our batch had also turned up. So it was all a ruckus. It was great. We stayed over there for 2 days. I think that was and I just before the lockdown, a month before lockdown, I had visited the college once again for a friend's wedding. I had come down to Bhubaneswar. It was great coming back to college and reliving those memories, clicking pictures in all our favorite spots, sitting in X Cafe, talking to the bhainas. So all in all, it was great. So many fun memories. I just try to put down some. So yeah.
Well, thank you so much for sharing the fun memories with us, ma'am. Thank you. So, moving on to the last question. So, apart from the curriculum, what might set a person to stand out while looking forward to make a career in marketing?
All right. So one thing that I would totally swear by, like apart from all the fun that a person wants to have in college, and one should have ample fun because that's all that you remember at the end of the day. But you should also totally go for the extracurricular opportunities that the college offers, especially the case studies, the tremendous amount, the plethora of case studies that you get, especially the marketing ones. People might think that it's not that important, but it's really great if you participate in as many case studies as you can, along with not your studies getting hampered, definitely. But it's a great learning experience, and trust me, if you participate in 10, you're definitely going to win 3 or 4. Because I remember I had participated in 6, and we had managed some of the other position in 5 of them. So it's a really very enriching experience. You get to learn a lot of things which you would have otherwise not learned. You work in teams outside of your regular coursework. You stay up all night and you research a lot about marketing stuff. And when you win something, you really get that, that I need to do it again, and that interest drives you to achieve more things in life. And honestly, when I was having my placement interview for Emami, I, even apart from case studies, if I tell you, we there were a lot of projects in the second year, like for consumer behavior, the subjects. There was IMC, integrated marketing communication. So we actually went out of the way and did a lot of more interesting projects, not just for marks, but also for our own learning. And half of my interview was on the project that we had done in consumer behavior, and they were like really happy with what we had done. So you never know what will come in handy when you are actually sitting for that interview. They might just ask you random things. In one interview, they asked me what my favorite brand was, while the other interview was what I did in this particular case study or in this particular project. So, and when you've done it by yourself, you can speak. Like a lot of people I have seen put something, but when you speak to them, they might not be able to speak about it. So that should not be the case. You should not just randomly participate in every case study, but you should really try to do the inter as well as intra college case studies, and see as much as you should. Also, there are a lot of live projects that keep floating into the system. So the ones which are actually like not for namesake, but the ones which are actually worthwhile should definitely be tried upon. And then there are quiz competitions. There are a lot of things that a person can participate in other than curriculum, because honestly, you do not get that burdened with coursework that you can't participate other things, despite also having your share of fun. So I think you should really try your hand at different things, and you never know what might click. And just to add on to that, if I had known it earlier, I would have definitely tried to follow more of marketing specialists, all these people at LinkedIn who actually speak from the industry point of view, have really great insights. So I would suggest people to start following them from now onwards. And whatever they're learning, try to share it with the world. The more you talk, the more people come to know about your existence, and it just helps you grow better as a person, is what I feel. As a marketer, definitely, as a person also. Yeah, that would be what I would say.
Thank you so much for sharing your insights with us, ma'am, and thank you for being a part of Know Your Alumni series.
Sure,
I'm
sure, sure. My
sure,
pleasure.
I'm
Yeah,
sure the insights that you share would definitely benefit us all and would also help the upcoming batches. Thank you.
definitely, definitely.